So 8 years. What was it that got you wanting to sit down and write Leo in the first place?
Oh, I went to an art exhibition in 2000, like mid 2012. 2012 was a big year for me now that I'm talking about it. So I went to this art exhibition and it was about Da Vinci, and they were just like listing cool things about Da Vinci, and they talked about how 500 years ago, he built a working robot lion out of wood, and it would take 3 steps forward and roar. And he built it for the King of France. When he roared, it displayed a bouquet of lilies, the fleur de lis for the royal symbol of France. And the fact that someone with that brain existed 500 years ago just blew my mind. So I imagined, like, if you took that same brain and personality and had it born now, what would it look like? And that was when I started to construct the narrative. And so every character in the book is also based on a Renaissance, a real person from the Renaissance or a real event from the Renaissance, and all the art and illustrations are based on Renaissance art.
And that was your main topic of study while you were at Brown, right? Is Renaissance?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Brown is essentially a drum circle that grants degrees. It is the most kind of like, I loved being surrounded by this wealth of talent, my peers. Like, everybody was smart, everybody was ambitious, but it's also they're the most like, yeah, man, you're learning stuff and here's your degree. And so, yeah, they're like, I remember having a discussion with a professor and he's like, what are you interested in? And I was like, I really like the Renaissance and I really like the post-50s time period in the US. And he was like, great, there's your major. See, like, and he's like, I'm making it sound like he just rubber stamped it. Instead, they were like really rigorous about, by the time you're a senior, they were just kind of like, hey, we're not like, I know we've let you mess around a lot, but it's like, it's almost like getting a martial arts belt where they're like, we don't just give these to anybody, like that's kind of how they felt about a degree, but only my like senior year. Before that, they were just like, whatever you want to do is fine. Maybe they were just worried about I was going to walk out with a degree, and yeah, yikes. Anyway,
they'd see you at the Subway sandwich shop. No, not to disparage Subway sandwich shop workers. You're doing God's work, but they come out. Oh, here's the brown man.
Yeah. Man, I definitely, if you work in the arts, I have definitely had a few years where I'm sure Subway sandwich artists just killed me on a W-2 form. There's definitely been.
Not Subway fired me. When I was in high school, they left me in charge for the night, and I forgot. I turned off all the lights, and I also turned off the freezer. So they came back the next day. All the lunch meat and everything had gone bad. That was it for me in Subway.
Oh, have you told that story on the podcast before?
Nope, that's the first time.
So just so if anyone is keeping score at home, Rob, how much less time were you allowed to work at Subway versus Jared Fogel? What are we looking at?
Now, in all fairness, to the best of my knowledge, Jared Fogel never spoiled an entire shop worth of meat.
No, that would be unforgivable in terms of Subway's purview.
Well, that sparks another story I've never told on the podcast. Oh. That was one of the most famous people up to a certain point in my life that I'd ever met. I waited on him when I was in college. I worked on the side at a theater / dinner theater. Yeah, they have a title for that. It's a dinner theater. Yeah. And he was eating up toward the front, so I was waiting on him, and everyone was like, "What's Jared doing?" And the whole place was watching him eat. And then he goes back to the buffet, and he's got his girlfriend or fiance, then wink, wink, with him. And they go and they get some dessert to share it. Everybody's tracing Jared's steps as he comes back. Like, how much of that dessert are you going to eat? Share it. So you go get a cold cut sandwich and be healthy.
Don't fall off the sweets wagon, Jared Bear.
Now, this obviously was ahead when he was still a celebrity, and it was cool to have waited tables to wait at Jared's table.
Yeah. Well, you are skipping over what I think is a very important detail in that story. You said you were waiting on his table, but it was a buffet place?
Yeah. Yes,
What
Skip
kind of
I
luxury?
really think he would just like reach into his coat and pull out a little hoagie.
Were you a waiter on the Titanic? How is there a buffet and there's also a full wait staff? This sounds very luxurious.
6 or 7 of us, so not much. So mostly it was a sweet job as far as waiting tables, because they're going to get their own food. I'm pouring water and their alcoholic beverages. Then I bring them desserts at the intermission so they can eat through the second half of the show. And then they tip, not just based on what they paid for the buffet, but also the price of the ticket for the show. So it was sweet.
That's incredible.
It was nice. I don't know why. I finished my degree and I went on to get other jobs, but that was... I should have just stuck right there.
Wait, can anyone do the math on that? I feel like you would definitely have some a-hole is going to get up and be like, I'm not tipping on the price of the ticket, too. You had to encounter that.
No, a lot of times there was a gratuity already built in.
Oh, all right.
And on top of that, people would tip over and above. And when we did the Christmas show each year, get ready. So it was no, I'm sorry, not Christmas. New Year's show. They would do the Christmas show all through the Christmas season. It was great, and then they would do the last one right up till midnight. And everybody would get trashed and walk out, and we clean it up and just make all the money. It was fun.
I opened for 10 years ago. I opened for Anthony Jeselnik on New Year's Eve. And I've never seen someone who was less interested in performing for drunks after midnight. He literally was just like, and for that guy's like on stage persona, he is the nicest dude in the world. There is no one kinder in comedy than Anthony Jeselnik. But he got together with me and one of the other feature comics, and he was like, I'm not performing after midnight, and you guys are certainly not going out there and dealing with these animals after midnight. So it got to be 11:59. He counted down and was like, thank you. We'll see. He'd probably done like 30 minutes of total stand-up, and I'm sure the club wanted him to come back and do another whatever. He's like, no thanks. People at New Year's shows, they get like Russian wedding drunk. I've just never seen anything like New Year's comedy shows. I'm sure it was the exact same at your Jared Fogel theater, whatever. Jared Fogel dinner theater.
Name change. I think that one's off the table.
Oh man, how quickly would a guy be up there with a wrench to take that name off?
Be over the next day. I kind of like the idea of the official Subway dinner theater, though.
Yeah.
Even better than a buffet. Just let me bring you a wrap sandwich. You're done.
Full of the sun chips. Weird cookies. I remember we had to write jokes about Subway. They found that Subway's bread had like the same content as yoga mats or something like that. That was one of the premises we had to write jokes about.